The Jet Sweep Show with your co-host Will "It's Harris Time" Harris and Josh "Smoky Hell" NFL Nelson. Strap in, folks. You are cleared for flight in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Monday Night Football at halftime, coming at you live from the Great White North. That is the Jet Sweep Show, hosted by myself. It's Harris Time, Will Harris, and my energetic and handsome co-host, Josh "Smoky Hell" Nelson. How the hell are you, Smokey?
Woo! After another decisive Cowboys victory yesterday, I am on cloud nine, brother. And maybe it's been about 9 clouds today because it's been a good day off. It's Canadian Thanksgiving, or just as we call it up here, Thanksgiving.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. It's been good, man. It's been good. How about you? How you living?
Yeah, man, it is good. No preface needed for our Canadian fans, but certainly for American fans, there is another Thanksgiving, and that's the Canadian version, just more maple syrup and stronger beer for all intents and purposes. For those of you tuning into the Jet Sweep Show for the very first time, we go rapid fire. We're going to get you flying high with our intelligence for the week ahead in fantasy football, get you back for halftime. We kick it off with the black box where we summarize the week's events, and man, some really crazy news to talk us through. Then we're going to get into a little segment that we call fantasy football turkeys, because it is Thanksgiving up here, and also who we're thankful for in fantasy football. And then we end every single week with Puff Puff Pass, which is Smokey's signature waiver piece that we have now incorporated into the Jet Sweep Show, which is an awesome segment. So without further ado, Smokey, because we do have a lot to share, and we also have some breaking news. Are we maybe potentially the first live stream breaking the John Gruden news? John Gruden has resigned as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. This is from some emails that were unearthed. I guess it was in about midweek. Things had went relatively quiet. There was a New York Times article, kind of a show all. I believe that dropped over the weekend. And then this resignation by Gruden was probably a bit preemptive, I would imagine. Again, I'm not close to the situation. I do not know the ins and outs of that organization. However, I do know that what was allegedly written and exchanged certainly has no place in football nor in life. So goodbye, John Gruden, and probably won't be hearing from you from a very long time. Smokey, thoughts on this situation? Any surprises here?
I'm not too surprised. It kind of picked up steam, like you said, over the weekend here. I read that New York Times article. What was said was terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, let's make no bones about it. And it came about because of the investigation into the Washington football team and to Bruce Allen, who was GM at the time and everything. And this is back in like 2011 when Gruden was working for ESPN. And the emails were back and forth between him and Bruce, and the things that were said that were, like I said, terrible. I don't want to dwell on it too long. I'm not surprised. I don't think he really, from what I've heard, rumors on the street is the word is he is not really too remorseful about what was said. And when word came down tonight through Schefter, I believe it was, that Mark Davis had himself gone down to the stadium to have a meeting. The writing was on the wall, and sure enough, a couple minutes later, boom, John Gruden has resigned.
Yeah, I don't think that there was any resigning done there. But again, there's absolutely no place for that in football, nor in this world that we live in. So good riddance, John Gruden. I hope that we don't get to hear from you for a very, very long time, if not ever. It will be interesting. Him and his staff has coached up this Raiders team to be playing way above their weight class. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see what transpires with Chucky out of the equation. Hey, and we might as well stick on the doom and gloom while we're at it. Not necessarily that Gruden being let go is a bad thing. But the Giants
Oh,
suffered an absolutely devastating week. We had first, it was Daniel Jones going down with a look like a pretty nasty concussion. He did not
yeah.
know where he was. Having sustained a few concussions myself, oof, man, that looks like a nasty one for a kid that was just hitting his stride. I've been really high on Danny Dimes for a long time, and he was looking really good there. But dude, that looked really rough. Then I believe
It
that
did.
was then that was followed up with another freak injury for Saquon Barkley
Oh.
just when
Did you,
he was looking to.
did you see the picture of that ankle?
Oh, dude, man. And
Oh man, like he's smuggling golf balls and tennis balls around,
yeah,
and that is
his I
man.
liken it to an eggplant, both in size and in color. It is absolutely
Oh,
nasty, guys. And if you are faint of heart, I do not suggest taking a look at those photos. And it was just,
oh,
he rolled his ankle really bad. I mean, it was completely flipped. And, he said, Saquon's been a quick healer, but dude, man,
at
I
least
love
it's
the
low.
talent. Like I get,
At
yeah, it's a
least it's
low
low and
ankle
not
sprain.
high.
Hey,
Silver lining.
also maybe he's gonna phone up. He's gonna phone up Cortland Sutton because Cortland Sutton sprained his ankle, low ankle sprain, and he was out there balling out for 25 fantasy points. I think it was
Not
like 2
bad.
days later. So,
Not
Cortland,
bad.
why don't you give Saquon a call for some low ankle sprain advice? And then, if that wasn't enough, we had Kenny Galladay go down with a knee injury. It has been confirmed. MRI has confirmed that it was just simply a hyperextension. Not a big deal, just a hyperextension, folks. So some pretty hard hitting stuff. Some injuries there for the Giants, and a team that your Dallas Cowboys had no problem continuing to steamroll once those
We kicked,
injuries.
we kicked the shit out of them. I mean, even before these guys were going down, we were rolling through that game.
Oh
But
yeah,
I mean, the Giants' defense is no joke. I will give them credit; they're not bad. And I mean, it's hard to overcome one or two of those injuries, let alone three of them within the same game, especially when your backup quarterback is not that
super.
great.
Yeah, and superstars. Like we're talking, these are whether you like them or not. These three guys are, the top at their position on the team. We
Well,
do have a
absolutely.
we do have a bright ray of light in Kadarius Toney, which we'll cover a little bit later in Puff Puff Pass. So that is something to look forward to. And another bright spot here is the play of the Bills. Man, wow, we would be
Woo!
we would be remiss not to talk about their 4-1 start and their absolute dominance. And I say dominance of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Josh Allen looks like a world beater yet again. And what is crazy is that he's doing it without that crazy connection that we saw last year with Stephon Diggs. I'm not worried about Diggs whatsoever.
Nope.
Once those two get connected and firing on all cylinders, man, this team looks tough to beat. The defense has taken a step forward. I don't know what they were drinking preseason to stumble out of the gates to my Pittsburgh Steelers, but man, whatever it is, they've cleared that out of their system and they look absolutely unstoppable. I was heavy on the Bills coming into this Chiefs game. They look like the team to beat in the AFC, potentially in the entire league.
Yeah, I don't. I'll go as far as saying AFC. I think I think the conference runs through them at this point, and they're for real, man. They're legit. And in regards to your Diggs comment there, I think it's not a bad thing that they're not hyper focusing on him right now because the target
Absolutely.
distribution is going around, and you're seeing success, through the offense still. And when they're not able to shut down an offense just by setting double coverage on Diggs and everything like that. I mean, the options are there. It's just like they're doing in Dallas. Like, who are you going to cover? The options are there for him, and if they aren't, he can just tuck and run and take it himself.
Absolutely.
So yeah, these guys are looking unstoppable. The defense is good too. That's another key right there.
Absolutely. Josh Allen is playing a game of keep away from Gabriel Davis, though. But that's a matter for another day. You know, Emmanuel Sanders is balling out. Dawson Knox balling out. We'll talk about him in
Yes.
Puff Puff Pass as well. And then it's just a matter of time before Diggs gets going. Certainly, somebody that's going to have a lot more time on their hands not playing football, being able to dedicate a little bit more time to his TikTok career is none other than Juju Smith Schuster, who went down on an incredibly tough play. You know, Juju, I've said it before, he's one of the hardest runners in the NFL. And went down on a play where he took heavy contact, led with his shoulder, did the right thing, took that ball to ground, and it was bad from the get-go. This is a kid that doesn't show a ton of pain. And it's really interesting, Smoke, with this injury. They still haven't disclosed what it is. He did already have surgery. It's something to do with his shoulder, but it hasn't been fully disclosed what it is, unless you have something on it.
I think I did see something earlier. It was a full shoulder dislocation.
Okay.
And he had surgery. I'm sure there's some kind of torn labrum or some shit involved in there. But yeah, that's what I was seeing anyways earlier.
Yeah. So tough one. The good thing is Steelers got a lot of depth there. They've already brought in Anthony Miller for some godforsaken reason to maybe fill in that Juju role in the slot. They've got a perfectly capable wide receiver in James Washington. So
yes.
Deontay and Claypool, if they're on your team, watch out. Those guys are going to put up some serious numbers. We've already seen that crazy target volume. And then, you know what? These rookies are the pits. No, they're not. We've got three highly touted rookies, and they're all, you know, they came with really high draft capital, both in the NFL draft, also, of course, in fantasy football drafts, but they are absolutely smashing their ADPs right now. And that would be Najee Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers, running back, Jamar Chase, who everybody,
that's right,
awesome.
Baby.
Jamar, I can't see the ball, Chase, because they don't have the white lines. Hey, everybody out there, you guys bought into that bullshit and you faded them, and at your own cost. There's a reason why these players were graded so incredibly high. All three of these players, which I haven't mentioned the last one yet, you probably pieced together and figured out who it is, but all of these players had the pedigree, they had the athletic testing, they had the college production. You don't fade that kind of stuff, guys and girls. Nope. We just simply don't. Jamar Chase has set actually, there's only been one other player to do this. In 5 games for a 21-year-old, he has over 400 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Who would that other guy be, Will? Who would that be?
The other player is the GOAT himself, Randy Moss.
Oh,
Randy Moss.
That good? Is that good? To be compared to Randy Moss and no one else, is that good?
For those of you that are just tuning into the Jet Sweep Show for the very first time, and maybe this is the first time watching a football broadcast, yes, being compared to Randy Moss and actually putting up the same numbers as Randy Moss, because I think a lot of people get compared to Randy Moss, is a very good thing. And our last rookie that we need to talk about, that is absolutely showing everybody why we drafted him in the 4th round and why the Atlanta Falcons drafted him in the 1st round and the highest tight end ever drafted, is none other than Kyle Pitts. Finally, we have the breakout game, but it shouldn't have been a surprise to anybody. We talk about all the time looking at the numbers, but what is happening? It doesn't always tell the story. Looking at fantasy points, he was top 5 in targets, and he was number 2 in red zone targets coming into that London game. Calvin Ridley removed from the situation, and really, what other options are there outside of Patterson and himself? And he balled it. Smokey, I know that you're one of the biggest Pitts guys out there. You want to say a couple words? I mean, we could talk hours about the guy, but
yeah, you know what? I could, but let's save that for our next segment here. Let's Let's wrap this up and get on to what we were thankful for this
Absolutely.
year.
Absolutely. So keep it on the theme of tight ends, and it's Canadian Thanksgiving up here, and I'm very thankful for Travis Kelsey. Coming into this year, I was hyper focused on locking up one of those elite tight ends, and really Travis Kelsey is there on a absolute plane by himself. He has been tight end one for the last 5 years, and he continues to do that into this season. 6 receptions a game, 78 receiving yards a game, 5.3 in yards after the catch. Like, that's really damn impressive. And that leads the league. And he's averaging over 18 fantasy points a game. So I am really thankful that I locked in that tight end one production in the first rounds of fantasy drafts, because he is just an absolute set it and forget it. Smokey, who are you thankful for this Thanksgiving in fantasy football?
Well, like I said, it's Kyle Pitts, who is the tight end 5 currently and rising. Third among tight ends in both targets and receiving yards. He finally got his first touchdown, which honestly could be the tipping point between a good rookie tight end start and a fantastic one, because he just hasn't gotten the red zone production yet. But he's getting those looks, like you said now. He's looked the part out there. I was up early yesterday to watch the London game specifically for him, and it was a treat. He can just pluck a ball out of the air and actually hold on to it, unlike some of his teammates. With his target share rising, his red zone usage rising, he is beginning to prove what I have been saying all along. So I am thankful for Kyle Anthony Pitts showing the world what he can do on the international stage, because I knew he could do it all along. Suck it, haters.
Well said. Now, so those are who we're thankful for. Now, in true Thanksgiving fashion, Thanksgiving is not complete without a turkey. And we're going to share our fantasy football turkeys up until this point. Smokey, are you ready to share your turkey? And how do you like your turkey? Do you like it, nice and crispy on the outside with lots of dressing, some cranberry sauce?
Honestly, I do like a bit of cranberry sauce on there. But the way I like my turkey is taking up the least amount of real estate on my Thanksgiving plate, because everything else in that dinner is so much better. And if I'm going protein, I'm going hard on that ham, baby. But I digress. When it comes to fantasy football, it is also a rookie that I'm going to be going to, and it is Mr. Zach Wilson, who is currently QB 30 in fantasy points scored through 5 weeks. And at times, he really looks like it. I mean, there are moments where I go, wow, but his line is getting him killed. And the play calling has been subpar, to say the least. Like I said, I got up early for that London game, man, and there was moments where I was like, shit, that's a good throw. I mean, if he learns how to properly place that throw just a little bit more, whew, or gets the receiver to actually get there for him. But I'm not out on the kid. But man, like a good Thanksgiving turkey, Z Willie is putting me to sleep. I think they flashed a graphic up on the first quarter there. I might have been pretty baked in the early morning, but that the Jets had not had any passing yards in the first quarter so far this year. And I'm watching the game, I'm like, that can't be right. And then I'm watching the game, I'm like, that can definitely be right. It was a snooze fest. He was honestly putting me to sleep, but the offense is going to come along, but the play calling needs to improve there. So to this point, turkey's still delicious, but it puts me to sleep. Zach Wilson is going to be delicious for fantasy, but he puts me to sleep.
Yeah.
What about you, man? What about you?
Yeah. For me, this is a guy that I really, really like, but is it the talent? I'm not sure. Is it the play calling that's making Miles Sanders a bit of a turkey so far in fantasy football? When we think about, we were banking on his upside, drafting him in like the late 4th, 5th round. We were thinking, could we get a steal here? We saw how he finished the year with Jalen Hurts under center. Getting some of those open runs with Jalen under center, opening up bigger channels for some of those home run hitting touchdown runs that we're used to seeing from Miles Sanders. We just haven't seen that. We're also, there's a lot of concern here in terms of just not seeing any looks in the red zone. He's currently 39th in red zone looks. in touches. And a lot of that's going to be because Jalen's just running it in himself, right? So he's not seeing the work. He's not
or
seeing
maybe
the
someone
work.
else there.
With another person that we'll talk about in a second, Sanders also hasn't had a 100-yard rushing game, which is a big concern. We also love Sanders when he was coming out of Penn for those home run hitting ability, those 70-yard runs, those 60-yard runs, just be able to hit that hole and be gone. We haven't seen any of that. We haven't even seen a touchdown yet. But our guy, Kenny, who's cutting in, has 2 on the year. And people like to say, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If I have Miles Sanders on my roster, I am worried about it because it's just not happening. And we've talked about it before. Sanders, he was known for his pass catching works. Kenny Gainwell is clearly getting the lion's share of that work. So my turkey, and again, I don't think that he's fully cooked yet because I still think that the talent is there, but the situation of the play calling just isn't making a lot of sense. And maybe it is game script, maybe it's not, but I'm certainly worried about Miles Sanders in season long.
I totally agree with you there. I have him in my most important league, but it's only as like an RB4. Yeah. I'm still worried. I'm still trying to get him as a throw-in on any trade talks right now.
I would. In Dynasty, I'd be snapping him up all over, even season long, if you can get him for free. He's not startable. You cannot start. I would start Kenny Gainwell, and I did in a lot of situations this week with more confidence than I did with Miles Sanders.
100%. Love him, man. Gainwell's coming in and, pulling the actual Kenny Powers and go, you're fucking out to Miles Sanders, man. He's kicking him out.
Absolutely. Whenever we can talk a little bit eastbound and down, it's always a good day, Smokey. And hey, we're at our segment, our waiver wire segment. After last week, I had egg on my face. I said 2 weeks ago when I said Peyton Barber was absolute dust. He came through with that 130-yard performance or whatever that was, but that's fantasy football, Smokey. Yep. You do the analysis, you do the research. Sometimes on any given Sunday, some shit can happen that changes the game, and you can be wrong. And I think that you got to be honest about that. That's why we always recap these segments to say where were our hits and where was our miss. Happened last week that our puffs, which were Kadarius Toney and Dawson Knox, kind of lit it up.
Yeah, they did all right, didn't they?
Kind of lit it up. Kadarius, who we talked about before, the age of Kadarius is upon us. You can get that t-shirt at Viridian Global. Check out their fabulous wares that Smokey and myself are wearing right now. But Kadarius, there's a lot of speculation about the Giants taking him in the first round, but he absolutely balled out given the opportunity. He had almost 30 PPR points, 29.60. Was targeted 13 times for 10 receptions, 189 yards. He also had a rush in there as well. This kid looked absolutely electric. He's starting to run a bit more of an expanded route tree. That route that he ran against Diggs
made him look foolish, man. Made him look foolish. And Trayvon Diggs is a damn good corner, man.
He's a baller. He's a baller. But I mean, I haven't seen that's like Devontae
ankles, man.
Oh man, that was like a Devontae Adams type route that we saw there. Just incredibly smooth. That change of direction was absolutely incredible. So
looked like Kadarius, Connor McDavid doing tight turns out there. Yeah, that's a hockey reference for all y'all. Canadian Thanksgiving, take a precedent.
Yeah, exactly. So Kadarius was one of our puffs, absolutely balled out. And then the second one, guy that's near and dear to my heart that I've been hard on. I was big on Dawson Knox when he came into the league, hyper athletic, kind of checked all my boxes, but couldn't hold on to the dang football. But he absolutely lit it up. This is really weird. For 2 weeks in a row, he's had the exact same amount of PPR points at 20.70 PPR points, which is just absolutely incredible. He's doing it with hyper efficiency. He did that production on only 4 targets for 3 receptions. But again, he has that yak ability, he has the ability to, run it up the seam. On those 3 receptions, he had 117 yards and a touchdown. So our puffs last week absolutely lit it up. Our pass, which I thought, oh man, this is going to be another Raiders running back situation, was Alex Collins. I said, just absolutely fade him. I started to pull back the reins a little bit because I thought it was just going to be the usage last week for the Seahawks. I thought it was just getting Carson ready for Thursday night. It turns out that there's a pre-existing neck injury there that needs to be monitored, but Alex Collins was Alex Collins, guys. 7 points, and we saw the emergence of a few of those running backs that hang around in Seattle that had a couple long runs there. But Alex Collins isn't going to be a thing. Chris Carson's going to be back. He's their guy there. So that was those were our hits from last week, and our pass on Collins. Smokey, who do you got for us this week? We're way over time, but it's Canadian Thanksgiving. You know what?
Who cares? We're getting the bellies full today, baby.
I'm cool with it. Let's load it up.
All right. So for my puff pass this week, we're going to start off with a wide receiver that is only 19% rostered on Sleeper. And we were talking about the sun god himself, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, with Quintez Cephas going out with a collarbone injury and Khalif shrinking out of the game plan, it's going to come down to Tyrell coming back off a concussion and the sun god himself. Now, he's likely out there on waivers, and with a schedule that will necessitate negative game scripts, Goff is going to have to throw his way out of this stuff, and Amon could be a midseason savior for some injury-decimated rosters. What do you think about the sun god there, Will?
Yeah, I love it. I've been monitoring his usage. Last game, I mean, again, we talk about usage. This is 2 games in a row with 8 targets. We love what we're seeing. We passed on that Detroit wide receiver last week, right? And Amron, I think, is going to be the guy. I mean, they've liked him there. Now that there's more targets coming his way, I think we're going to see something that's really interesting there because there's no one else to throw to.
Yeah, that pie is getting voluminous for the people who are left. Not that it's that tasty of a pie, but I mean, pie is still pie.
8 targets
eat away, eat up.
And
speaking of eating up, our next puff here is going to be Ricky Seals-Jones, who is only 4% rostered on Sleeper. Yeah, the community was very high on the prospect of Logan Thomas having a great fantasy season at the position because of the offensive situation in Washington. Now, Pretty Ricky stepped in this week and only took 1 offensive snap off. Like, he was out there for 99% of shit. He gathered up 5 of 8 targets for 41 yards. Not the greatest, but not terrible. Typical tight end performance, a sturdy, reliable one. Let's not kid ourselves. Ricky is not the athlete that Logan Thomas is in pretty much any metric. Opportunity is king, though, like we were just saying with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sun God, RSB. Yes, opportunity is king, and we've seen what this position can mean in that offense in Washington. So for as long as Logan is out, I'm looking towards Ricky as a waiver option for those streaming the position. What you think about that?
RSJ, man, I've had my heart broken by him many times since his days in Arizona. He's always been somebody that you're just waiting for him to take that next step to be able to piece things together. We've seen him have good fantasy games. What's interesting is in Washington, I mean, Logan Thomas was an absolute volume monster. Curtis Samuel's groin continues to be an issue. And outside of Terry McLaurin, there's not a lot of passing options. J.D. McKissick is their next best receiver. So I like Ricky Seals-Jones. I also like to see if Dan Arnold, of all people too, if he's floating around there on waivers. He's getting some weird Urban Meyer type volume down there in Jacksonville. So
they gave up a good player to get him. So clearly there is a plan for him. And I like that call as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But I like Ricky and Amron. I mean, I'm going out there. I preemptively added him last week in a bunch of leagues. So I'm puffing on those guys as well. Who we passing? Who are we passing on this week?
Well, speaking of a player who just hasn't been able to take the next step that's necessary in their life, we're going to be passing on Cole Beasley, who is 75% rostered on Sleeper. Remember 2020 when Beasles balled out because it was Diggs and no one else? Like we were alluding to earlier, when Diggs is getting not that target share he did last year, everyone was injured. So it was just Diggs and Beasles. That's not the case this year. As we've said ad nauseum on this episode tonight, Dawson Knox and Emmanuel Sanders have proven to be fantasy relevant in that offense. And the rebel without a vax has been left by the wayside, asking all the wrong questions. He is not worth holding on to that spot, because that spot on your bench, you should be filling that with running back golden tickets, because they're clearly the most valuable commodity in fantasy this season. And like you said before, I would rather flex Dan Arnold than consider flexing the inconsistent Cole Beasley.
All day. Dan Beasles, just get vaccinated. I mean, this is your job. This is your livelihood. But running back gold, man. Speaking of running back gold, Speaking of running back gold, wherever I can, I'm picking up guys like Khalil in Chicago. Our boy Damian Williams, man.
Yeah.
MVP, robbed MVP, Super Bowl MVP.
Absolutely. That should have been his. I still say that all day, all night.
Should have been him. Another guy too, Kylan Hill. I've added everywhere as a depth piece, just in case, because man, this running back injuries have been really, really tough this
Get
season.
Them all. Fill your whole damn bench up with them. Take all the shit that you don't need off there and you can get back. Fill it up with running backs, man, because streets are dangerous right now.
That's absolutely right, and that's what's going to make a difference for fantasy football championship, is that depth that you have on your roster. Taking that upside running back sure beats the hell out of having a third tight end that's going to suck.
Yeah, man. Stream the position if you're going to be doing that on bye weeks and shit. If you're streaming them because of IR spot, well, you got them on IR anyways, and just stream the damn position, man. Soak up them running backs, baby.
That's right.
Like gravy on a plate with a crusty bun at the end of your Thanksgiving meal.
Well, Smokey, man, it was an absolute pleasure. A happy Thanksgiving to yourself, everybody on both sides of the border. We've got action back in the Ravens-Colts game. The Colts are now up 16-3.
Colts taking it too, man. It's time for Lamar to step up and be Lamar.
Yeah,
buddy. I know he's got a second half comeback in him. Book it.
Yeah, man. Calling it. I think that's going to be an exciting finish this game. So happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for flying with us this evening, and we wish you all the best in your fantasy football endeavors this week.
And thank you, Kyle Pitts. I won pretty much everywhere thanks to you. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to the Jets Show. You can follow Will at It's Harris Time, Smokey at Smokey L NFL, and the show at Jet Sweet Show. You can find the podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere else you can find podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next week.